Welcome to the world of Why Wait Till Friday, a place where we keep it simple, intentionally find joy in the middle moments, and consistently stay comfortable. Enjoy today's courageous conversation. Welcome to podcast number 3 of Why Wait Till Friday, a place where we are comfy and courageous all the time. Today is a big day. It's a big day for me as the founder of this movement, Why Wait Till Friday, because my guest is extra special to me. She's one of the most resilient, relentless humans I think I've ever come across. And she is my daughter. Welcome. Thank you for being here, my love.
Well, that was a sweet intro. The expectations are high now, so better live up to them. But
It's intention, no expectation.
I'm so happy to be here, and I've been excited to talk. This is nothing new. We've done this before, so I guess it's just cool to share with people what the behind the scenes of who we are really is. So, yeah.
I love it. Welcome to our world. I think that fundamentally today I think I have an agenda in my mind, but the reality is like what you say. This is something that we do all the time. We have a song that we consider to be like our foundation song, and I'm gonna cry. And we just started, but and it's stuck like glue. And I think that defines us completely, right? And I think one of the greatest, I would say that for me, with my past and my life and my story, one of the greatest accomplishments in my life is us and where we are. And so having you here with me and having you share this moment and this day, and like you said, sharing it with the world is really just like real for me because it's so genuine and so deep. So when I introduced you today, I could say so many things about you, right? You're my kid. But I use the term resilience and relentless, and it's because I've seen that quality in you since you were tiny, since you were a very little girl. No matter what you believed in and no matter what you wanted, there was nothing that could change your mind or stop you. And it didn't matter even if I came in, right? Even if I said this is not going to happen. You've always been a woman who truly acted on the things that you want and believe. And I want to hear a little bit about that with you today. I want you to share, right? So like you're the daughter of this mindset woman, a person who has instilled this Why Wait Till Friday movement in you without even knowing that this is what we were instilling since you were little. And I want to hear about that. I want to hear how resilience, relentlessness has been a part of you and how being the daughter of this human that is so focused and hyper-focused on mindset, what it's been like, the good and the bad, right? Put it out there to the world to hear.
Well, I think there's a few things there. I think with resilience and relentlessness, I was born with that quality, but I think we're all born with a lot of qualities, and it's just a matter of life kind of doing its thing. And everyone's dealt different cards, and I think the cards I've been dealt, resilience has kind of just been the thing I needed the most. So, I think that maybe I was born with resilience, and I always had that in me, but throughout my life, I've kind of had to use that quality a little stronger than others, and it's made that quality kind of my comfort. Like resilience in a way, I know I've always got it there, and like I believe in my ability to overcome things so strongly that the quality kind of just comes out in me. I don't really need to try to be resilient. Instead, I just like choose to be. It's always my first choice. I always choose to figure it out because, I don't think that sitting in anything is ever the right way. But I think that I wasn't born that way. I always wanted things the way I wanted things because that's me. But my life, as the years went by, kind of just continued to show me over and over again that in my ability to overcome things, the grass is greener on the other side in this situation. Like if you just do it and you are who you are because you wouldn't be in the situation if you couldn't do it. If you get over it, you're going to get to the other side and you're going to be a better person. And I think that there's been a lot of instances in my life where I needed to be resilient and I didn't have an option. It was never, you're either resilient or you're not. No, it was like resilience is it. And if not, well, girl, there's not really another way. Or you're just going to have to still go through this in a lame manner, in a way you're going to be a loser then, because yeah, resilience was really the only option. So I think that with that topic on resilience, we can definitely dive into different moments that I've needed to use that. But yeah, so I'm grateful the quality was always there. But again, I also have an incredibly resilient mother. So, you know, as a girl, like you look up to your mom in a different way. Like I look up to my mom not as like this, like it's not an idol. It's more of like a foundation. Like this is where I came from and I'm proud of where I came from. Not everyone has the ability to look at their mom and be like, yeah, that's where I come from. And like, I want to scream it out on the rooftops. Like I want everyone to know you're my mom. Not every girl has that chance. So since I do have that opportunity and I do want everyone to know you're my mom.
I'm her mom.
I think that I take the things you do and the way you go about life so to heart because I'm lucky enough to have you as my example. And yeah, you're such a resilient person. You've always told me I can. I've never given you a dream or an idea ever since I was younger, and you've never shut any of it down. Like I can come to you and be like, I'm going to fly a plane, and you would be like, all right, figure out what you have to do to get there and do it. And you'll never be like, yeah, you can do it in an unrealistic manner. You'll always be like, you got to do things to get there. Like you want to lose weight and feel good about yourself, then you got to go to the gym. Don't just sit here and complain because it's not going to get done. And that's been with everything in life. You want to be the best dancer, then you got to go to the studio for 8 hours. And not only do you have to do that, but you got to be a good person because good people get good things. And everything always tied in back to like putting in the work and being able to overcome. And I don't think that there's ever been an obstacle that you've made me feel I can't overcome. So yeah, obviously a lot of it comes from my ability to be resilient, but I think that I'm surrounded by resilient people. And it's an energy force. Like it's so magnetic and it comes on to me. And although I might be this most resilient person you've ever met, like you're the most resilient person I've ever met. So I think it's just like a contagious thing. Maybe it's in our genes, who knows? But yeah, I think that we have a strong resilience gene, but I think that I've also learned great things from you. And yeah, so I can't take all the credit for my resilience. And again, it's honestly, I've had the great choice, the great opportunity to show my resilience because of the cards I've been dealt. Like I've been put in so many different instances that have allowed me to show off resilience.
I'm going to touch on that, right? So I'm sitting here as the proud mom that I am, and I've been previewed to your life because I've had front row forever since the beginning. You've been on a stage and I've watched it all, on and off that stage, but I consider your life a stage in general. And you have an energy to you that attracts attention. It's just kind of like you walk in a room, you get on a stage, anywhere that you go, you're a light. I've always told you that, right? And that's a responsibility. It's a responsibility because it's a gift, but others are watching, and sometimes you see it as like, oh, this is a lot of pressure, or oh, mom, I feel. And I've always told you, like, shine your light bright because it's the gift you've been given and the world is watching, and there's always somebody that you're touching. But I've been able to watch this from the very, from the front row of your life, but the world hasn't. And so one of the things that I'd like for you to share with us and kind of bring to life is how in specific moments throughout your life you've used resilience and how it's made you so much of what you are. Like you said, you were born resilient, but you've had to use it often. And I kind of want you to share specifically what that looks like.
Okay, so I think that the first moment in my life that I can remember, I'm sure I was resilient when I was like 2 and awesome and fabulous.
I wanted to wear your pink frocks.
Yeah, I always had it. I was a diva. I am a diva. It's just who I am. But I think that the first time I probably ever had to show resilience, or I didn't have to show resilience, actually, this wasn't one of those moments, was the first time I ever went on stage. I did a solo. I was 5 years old. I was the star kid. Everyone was like, Bella's got it. Like, she's got this it factor. She's going to go on that stage and she's going to tear it up. But I think people forgot that I was only 5 and I still had a baby belly and I still just loved going in the pool with goggles and swimming, just like I do now. Like I think that it's difficult when you're in the dance world and you're performing on a stage, even as a 5-year-old where the stakes are still low and there's an expectation because all these people see is this star that's on stage, but that star is also just a person. And so I go on stage and 30 seconds in, completely forgot the choreography. I was 5. The last thing I thought was like, let me improv. Like, no, I needed to get off that stage. I was so embarrassed. It was so embarrassing. I will never forget the moment, the specific place, everything, the lobby of the place, like all that stuff has stuck to me. So I go off stage. Luckily, I have the mom that I have and the dad that I have and the dance teacher at the time. Whenever I go off stage and like everyone was there to like make me feel better. And I was like, absolutely not. No. I did that to myself. I got to get back out there and show them that I can finish my solo from beginning to end. There's nobody here that's going to tell me it's okay because to me, it's not. And that's a big thing of my personality. Like everyone can tell me that I can't do it or it's okay to, no. I was not sitting in it and I was going to get back on that stage and show everyone that I can. It wasn't even about winning. No, I was 5. I just needed to prove to myself above anyone else that I could get through the solo from beginning to end. And I think that from that moment was like, that was my moment of like, yeah, I'm a resilient person. And just as a 5-year-old, I wasn't choosing to be resilient. I didn't even know resilient was a word. I was just doing what I do.
And I wish the world could have seen the little girl in red who genuinely gave us no other option but to go and ask for permission to get you back on the stage, because it's not typical for a dancer to get to do their dance again. Once you go on, that's it. You're disqualified and it's over. But there was such a desire and almost like non-negotiable. I will get back on that stage. And as your mom, there was no other option there. I was going to make sure that you had that opportunity, and you did it, and you did it so well, and you learned such a huge lesson in that process, that sometimes things get hard and sometimes the outcomes are not what we expect them to be. But as long as we have the intentionality to do what we love and to stay true to ourselves, then the story is resilient. It is all about that, right? And you were absolutely right. Like taking us back to that moment, you were so sure and determined to get back on there. And it was one of those very proud moments for me as your mom. Is there anything else that you think was pivotal in that process of resilience?
Like in that specific story?
No.
Or like just other resilient moments? I mean, there's a lot of other moments. I think that a big moment that it's a moment that I think about a lot still because it made me feel so capable. At the time, it felt like everyone was telling me it was impossible, and like something in me was like, this is so possible, and they're about to see why, because I'm going to do it, type of thing. I guess I got a kick out of proving people wrong. I don't know, but that might be the like.
Oh, really? I wouldn't know that.
That might be the core of all of this. Who knows? But so I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 7. Well, you know that obviously, but for the people that are watching, they probably don't know because
100%.
It's not like something I definitely shout out on the rooftops like I love you. That's definitely something I want to shout out, but not this. But anyways, I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 7, and that was scary. And I don't think that, well, obviously I had to do a lot of tests and everything, but the moment of resilience is not necessarily me living with this. A lot of people do that, and I had no choice. Like I wasn't being resilient living with it. I had to live with it. It wasn't, I don't think it was that brave that I lived with it because it was just something I had to do. And yeah, it was fine. I think that
it was brave how
I lived with it. Right. I don't think the fact that I did it, but the way that I did it was what really I feel is powerful. But the moment specifically that I do think about often is back to when I had to get my MRI. And I'm at Nicholas Children's Hospital. I've never been like into the doctor thing, into the needle thing. Like it's just, I'm super brave and like I do it when I have to, but like as much as I can prevent it, I will. So whenever we get to the doctor's office and we're talking about all the rundown of everything I have to do, I had already done the EEG. They knew I had epilepsy or I had a seizure. They figured out I had a seizure. Now, a seizure can mean anything. So they have to obviously look at your brain before they give you the diagnosis. A lot of people don't know, but there's a lot of forms of epilepsy, every single one treated differently, every single one caused by different things. So whatever, I get to the doctor. I'm 7. So at the time, I'm like, epilepsy, what's that? I didn't even know that was a word. Like, it's like so fine for me. Obviously, it was a way bigger situation for you and Papi. But one of the things that they told me was, so you're going to go into this MRI. It's going to be a really intense MRI. It's a brain scan, and it's 45 minutes to an hour. You can't move. Like, your finger literally can't move. Like, you have to be still from beginning to end. So we're going to have to obviously put you under anesthesia, and you're going to have to be asleep. And I was like, backtrack. These people just told me I have to go into a tube to get my body scanned, and I'm not allowed to be alive, like awake. That's crazy. That's not happening. So whatever. I sit there like calmly. I listen to everything they say.
At 7 years old.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, so the needle, like, do I have to go to sleep, or is that just an option? They're like, well, no one's ever done this without anesthesia. So yeah, I think that that's going to have to happen. And I was like, no, but like, is there a world where like it's still possible? Like, I can still go in this machine, but there's just no needle. And they're like, I mean, yes, but again, no one's ever done that in this hospital. Like, that's really unheard of. Whatever. I was like, okay, it's fine. I was like, I'm not just any of these people. Like, they don't know who they're dealing with. But I was calm whenever we leave. And I told my parents, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm just not doing the needle. Like, it's not happening. There's no way. I have to be awake. I want to see everything that's happening. I want to know what's happening. It's just not happening. And of course, they're like, a 7-year-old staying still for that long? Hell no, that's not happening. Obviously it was, because like I said, it's gonna happen the way I want it to. Like, you're already putting me in a situation that I don't want to be in. The biggest issue for me is that I want to at least be in control of what's happening and know what's happening. So we get there and they're like, okay, we're prepping the needles out. I see the needle and I'm like, oh my God, these people are crazy. This is not happening. So I'm like, I'm in my little gown. I'm all ready. And I'm like, I'm not taking that needle. And they're like, you're going to have to, like, babying me. I'm like, no, like, these people, I'm 7, but I know what I want and I know what I don't want. And what I don't want is that needle. And my mom was like, if she says she's going to do it without it, she's going to do it without it. Another moment where you like believed me, which I feel like most moms would be like, that's crazy. Get in there. You're doing what the doctor says. But you knew that like what I put my mind to was going to happen, and you believed in me. And that was so, like, that moment was so scary. I'm this little girl looking at this big tube, not knowing, because I just couldn't process all of it. And there was so much comfort in you just being like, interfering and interjecting, and
I wanted your voice at that moment to be heard, right? Like, your epilepsy and the kind of epilepsy you had voided your voice. And that was like the way that I saw it. I felt like that was so scary that you knew what you wanted to say and were unable to say it. And in that very moment, with those doctors in the room, you had the power of speaking. And I wanted to make sure to give you the chance to feel that you were heard and respected. That's kind of where my philosophy came from. And I felt like, well, if it doesn't work, then they can then process the other way. But let's give her the chance to feel like she's in control of this, you know? Yeah. Meanwhile, with my heart in my in my throat, but I felt that was really valuable, right? For you.
And then I go and I do it without the anesthesia, and I didn't have to get taken out once. It was perfect. I came out, and I vividly remember coming out and being like, ha, I did that. Like, I knew, but
with all the doctors waiting for you.
So we had all the nurses of Nicholas Children's Hospital. Like, I was the kid that was the first one to ever do this without anesthesia. I had stickers. Like, their gift to me was stickers. I had stickers all over my room wall just from that moment, like, of every Disney princess. I'm telling you, I could fill up every kid in Miami's room with the stickers that I was given. But instead, I just put them on my wall because I earned those stickers. And yeah, they were just stickers, but those stickers were so much more than just stickers to me. And yeah, I wasn't shocked at myself for doing it because I knew I was gonna. I was just, more than anything, like, I think looking back, I'm just grateful that was like such a strong moment for me. It's such a, like, just a moment in my life that sticks with me. And just knowing that, like, you believed in me that deeply to at least give me the chance was just something that I could never thank you enough for. And also, like, that's continued to show in my life. Like, that was one of the first moments that I can go back to and remember you putting me first, and believing, like, your belief in me has always been first in my life. And like, I can go through so many other moments that have happened that you do that, and you just believe in me more than anyone, more than I believe in myself. And I'm definitely somebody that believes in myself a lot. But even in moments when I'm like, I believe I can do it, but I don't know if I can, you're like, you can. And again, you're my mom. So when you tell me I can, I believe it. It's different than anybody else telling me I can, because that's just the power of a mom. Like, your word is so important, especially because of the bond we share. Like, it just becomes that much more important.
So I'm thinking, you've said so many courageous things today, and putting yourself so vulnerable to the world. Thank you, right? Because I don't think that's easy. And you said something when you started talking about the epilepsy, like that you could scream to the world how much you love me, but the epilepsy is not something that you usually talk about. And I think that that has a lot to do with your character. You never allow your obstacle to be a crutch. You're always a person that feels like the only way is through. And you've shown that throughout your life repeatedly, right? And so I have a question about that. I don't think I've ever asked you this, and maybe we've talked about it, but you've been a stage girl since you were very little, as you said, right? From that day of running off the stage. And the world has watched, and there's a lot of superficial stuff and language, from an emotional and just verbal place that happens when you're a stage girl. And I've always felt what you bring to the world of dance and theater is your human side. How do you think you transitioned from the little girl in the red outfit who ran off stage to the human that you are that dances? Like, I've never been able to say my daughter is a dancer. I feel like my daughter is this spectacular human that chooses to dance. And that's always been a unique quality. And it's always been unique for me as a dance mom, if we can call that, right? Because I've been surrounded by a network of people that defines themselves through the craft. And I've always been like defining you as the human that chooses that. But I think that that was a transition for you. Can you kind of share that on how you've been able to be human and then dance?
Yeah. I feel like as a child, dance was very important to me, and I would always be like, I'm going on Broadway. I'm gonna be the next J-Lo. Like, obviously these are just little kid dreams that are like, I don't want to, there's a lot of things I used to want to be that I wouldn't necessarily want to be anymore, but I had these big dreams. But I think that you and Papi have always made sure that I knew that what was the most important was family time, who I was, how I treated people. It was always something that was constantly instilled in my head. Like, I was always a little girl. A lot of people would be like, you're so pretty. And you would always make sure, I would say, you would always interject. Someone would compliment me. You're so pretty. Your outfit's so pretty. You're just so beautiful. Like, you just have this face. And every time you'd be like, what makes you beautiful? You would always interject, no matter who it was. It could be the most random person. And it was like, what makes you beautiful? And I'd always be like, my heart, like my inside. And it was just always, and I think back and I'm like, that's such a smart thing to do as a mom, because it was like, you were just making me like learn so many things. And for me, it was like auto. Like, I was just saying it because you told me, you've always told me that.
I smile with such a innate smile, because when I asked you this question, that was the answer that in my brain I was processing without us ever discussing this. And the fact that you just said that as a mom feels like, wow, like that tiny drop that we've always done, right? And I find it interesting because you're wearing that sweatshirt that says, but first love yourself, and it's a heart. And it's because your heart is your core, and it's fundamentally, and it makes me so proud to hear you say that, and to know that you've lived that and that you continue, right? Like, just recently in your program, you were chosen to close your show, right? And I watched your video over and over and over again. But it wasn't so much about the fact that you were selected to be the star or the closing. It was with the passion and the humility, because you were so humble about it that everybody felt. I read it through the comments, but me, like, I could just feel that still where you are today, there is still a human who appreciates so much their humanistic core and then comes out and dance. And I never want you to lose that, because it's such an important piece of anything you do in this world, right? Like, I feel like if you go all heart, then the rest happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could be here all day with you we talked about doing a 24-hour podcast, and honestly, like, it's maybe almost going to be an hour, and we could be at this forever. But, before we kind of say goodbye to our viewers today, one of the things that I want to close out with is all of this that we talked about with resilience and our relationship and you and your courageous journey leads me to this very special word. The past couple of years, some of the challenges became big for you, really, really big. And you were confronted with things that we never thought you would, that were exterior. No longer things that from within we as a family could kind of work through. I think there were things that felt really out of our control, me as your mom and you as a child. And I saw you live a pain that I don't think I've ever seen you live. And somehow, in your very resilient way, you come up with this word to guide you. And I want you to share that with the world. I want you to give a little clip of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to say it because it's your story, not mine. And then I want you to tell them the word. And that's how I want us to kind of close out for today.
So backtrack to 2022, September, beginning of September. We could backtrack to freshman year, first year. I went to middle school like everyone does. I've never been like a cliquey girl. And whatever, I had a hard time with friends. I didn't really fit into the whole group thing. I was always very focused in dance and the things I wanted to do in the future. I didn't have enough energy on the stupidities that most middle school kids, rightfully so, put their energy into. I just wasn't there. I couldn't meet them there. So I had a hard time in middle school with friends. And then I go to high school, first period, 7:20 in the morning, nervous as hell. I'm at this place where I believe I am almost like, I felt like nobody could be my friend. I felt like I was like, there's not a word for it, but like unfriendable. Like, I don't know how to bring a word.
It's a perfect word, unfriendable.
Like, I felt like nobody could be my friend. And I thought that it was me. I thought I was the issue because I'm like, how can every single, like almost every person in my school just like not really vibe with me? It must be me because they vibe with each other. Fine. So I go to high school. I'm like, all right, this is my chance to just start over. I got it. Like, I just got to be myself. It's all going to be fine. And I did have friends. That's why I was like, I do have these friends, but I just don't know what the issue is. So I get to freshman year science class, biology, 7:20 in the morning, nervous as hell. Here's this bubbly, bright girl who it seemed like the last thing she felt was nervous. And I was like, damn. Wow, she's really got it all together. All right, just sit quietly, be normal. And I was like, I really like this girl. Like, she's just like talking to everyone. And like, I'm the type of person, like, I'll talk to you no matter what. Like, if you are broke, rich, blue hair, brown hair, whatever you want to be, who you like that's never been something that I feel is like identifies anything. Like, if you're a cool person, I vibe with you. If you're a good person, I vibe with you. So yeah, that was kind of the energy she gave. And literally 1 week passes, we were best friends. We used to play music in the hallways, walking to that class every morning, the same song. And it was just like our thing. Like, we owned it. We owned biology and we owned our friendship. And from that point forward, we became best friends. Gati Puig. Shout out to Gati Puig. That's my best friend. But yeah, so we became best friends freshman year. COVID hits. We spend every day together. Now this is like not a friend anymore. This is a sister. Like, this is a friendship that I really, truly hope everyone can experience in their life, because the friendship that and I'm going to cry because it's like, I'm crying not because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm so proud and like grateful that I still have that friendship. But yeah, so this is an awesome friendship, clearly. Whatever, September 2022, we're going into senior year. I had just decided to become homeschooled, to do these 2 jobs that were gonna just give me a lot of training, and it was gonna be best. And I remember telling Gati, and she cried to me. She was like, she calls me B. She's like, B, I can't believe it. Like, we're not finishing it together, and we started together. But she was like, but the cool thing is like, it's forever, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to finish senior year. We're gonna finish life together anyways. So this is like, I tell her in August, this is like I think our last moment this day of me telling her that I was becoming homeschooled before this accident happens. It was our last moment together, and it's a moment that sticks with me, not only because it was our last moment, but it was a moment where she believed in me so much, and she was like, yeah, like, girl, you were made for this. Like, go make money, go do it. Like,
I'm coming to LA, don't worry about
she
it.
was like, wherever you're gonna be, I'm going. It doesn't matter. There's nothing big enough. There's no job. There's no person. There's no relationship. There's nothing that was ever an in any way a like insecurity. It wouldn't bring insecurity upon our friendship because our friendship was that solid because we were family. Like we were blood sisters. We were soul sisters, like her mom says. Like Gatti and I are soul sisters, and we always have been. And our soul tie is so strong that there was nothing that was going to come between. So, of course, a few weeks go by, not even, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and Gatti goes out to this boating party, whatever. There's a boating accident. Gatti becomes unconscious. It brings her into a coma for 4 months. This is just very like brief. There's a lot that goes on. But yeah, so obviously I'm away from my first job in Ohio when everything happens. And immediately this goes back to the last thing. Like, I'm just a human that dances, and human things are going to happen in my life, and dance will never come before them. Like, I always say, for example, this is a great example. Like, my friend just got into an accident. There was nobody at that gig that was going to make me feel like that was more important than being back home. I will drop everything for the people that I care for, no matter what. And so I stayed up the whole night as she got her brain surgery. And going into the brain surgery, it was, we don't know if she's going to make it out, but she's going to try. And I was like, Mom, like, I have to come home. And you were like, there's no flights. You will come home first thing in the morning. And I was like, part of me was like, she's going to get through because it's Gatti. And if anyone in this world has shown me that they can do it, it's her. So I was nervous and anxious, but I also knew she would get through the surgery. Now, would she survive after that? I didn't know, but I was like, getting through a surgery, that's a breeze. Surviving after, that might be hard, but she can do this. She's got a few more hours in her, and I knew she did because I didn't get the chance to say at least bye if that was my bye. Like, and I knew that the universe was not going to let that be our last moment. I just felt it. So I get to the hospital, and I at this point I had a lot of anxiety with hospitals, but I was like, the anxiety, it's crazy. Like, the anxiety went away, and from this moment forward, I don't have anxiety in hospitals anymore. And it was because I didn't have the option to. Resilience was the only way. Like, I could not put my anxieties about being in hospital settings because of my past at the front. Boom, go. All right, so the only way out is through clearly, because I have to get through this feeling of anxiety or whatever I might feel. I couldn't even feel anxiety. I couldn't feel anything. I was in a panic. I go in, there's like this sticker system. It's like we have stickers, and like every few hours I was like, sticker system? Hell no. I'm not going by the sticker system. I'm going upstairs right now. There's nobody that's telling me otherwise. I walk in, I go to the security guard. Hi, I'm Katerina Puig's best friend, and I need to go upstairs right now. I have not seen her since this accident happened. And everyone in the hospital knew. When I walked in, literally, like, it was like this. There was a group of people, everyone just opened and let me walk right in. Because if there's one thing, like, when I care about somebody, like, everyone knows that person's mine. Like, everyone knew we were each other's person, and they respected it. Our friendship is so respected, and that's another reason why I'm so, like, the way people even just see it is so beautiful. I go upstairs and I sit by her bed, and I was like, okay, her head's open. She's sedated in a coma. Like, I mean, she's breathing because there's a machine making her breathe. She's not breathing. Her brain waves are minimal, like, so minimal. I get in there and I just hold her hand and I go down on my knees and I'm like, God, if there's anything you can do for me right now, just make sure that I know she's actually alive. And I was crying and I was like, Gatti, please, just one thing. Like, I need to just show me that you're here, and then I can move forward. And a teardrop rolled down her face, and her sister experienced it, and my mom experienced it. And it was in that moment that I was like, we got this. I just needed one sign. All I needed was one thing, to know that she was there. And I told her from that. What's the word that you used? And I told her from that moment, I said, and every day I would say this to her. And then later on, this word that you're talking about came. But before that, I would say, Gatti, who's unstoppable? You and me. Even when she couldn't respond, Gati, who's unstoppable, you and me, Gati, who's unstoppable. And I was like, something about this feels like it needs a word. I need one word, because obviously in all of this, she wasn't able to process. Now she's like so much better. But at the time, you couldn't give a lot to her. You couldn't give too many words. I wanted her to be able to just know what I felt. And so I created this word going into 2024 because I was obviously it's difficult to watch your best friend have to go through all of this and still feel positive. Like it's hard. But I wasn't there to complain. I wasn't there to be the negative one. If Gati believed that she's going to walk, and Gati believed that she's going to survive, and Gati believes all these things that she believed, that we all know she believed from the beginning, who was I to ever second guess any of it? But of course, as a human, you start to think like, but what if, and who knows, and this and that. So I was like, that's it. 2024 is for onward only. And I created this word onward, and I was like, I'm sticking to this word because Gati's shown me that we can only move forward, and that the things that happen in our past are only there to make us stronger and only there to teach us. But once they happen, and there's no going back. You can't sit in what happened in the past. Everyone goes through things. Everyone has a hard life because life is hard. But it's how we go forward that defines us. And Gati went through something that was completely out of her control. She didn't deserve to get any of these things done to her. She was the most incredible human. It just happened. And instead of every day being like, oh, I just can't believe this has happened, like this is just crazy, her mom being like the most incredible human I've ever met. My mom and her mom were the best humans I've ever met in my life. Spent every day being like, we don't talk about it. It happened. Yes. Oh my God. So sad. Yes, we know. But now life is still going, and Gati is this lucky to have a second chance at life. So now we're just going to move forward, and we're going to keep going, and we're not going to get too high on our highs, and we're not going to get too low on our lows. We're going to stay right in the middle, and we're going to feel very proud of her for every single thing she does. And I was like, you're right. So then I created this word onward, and I told Gati, I sat her down and I was like, I thought of this word. It was actually, I called her. It was New Year's Eve, because this is when I made this choice. And I called her mom and her, and I was like, hey guys, I just wanted to tell you, like, I have this word. I know I always tell you, Gati, we're unstoppable, but I have this word and I think it defines us. And I just shared with them why, and we created Onward. And every single day we FaceTime and we talk. And when she's in Miami and she's not in the facility in Jacksonville, I see her and we talk and whatever. But no matter what, we end every conversation with Onward. And then it ends. And I don't know, I got it tattooed on my arm, and it's been this like, it feels so much more important than just a word. It's like it feels like a personal statement, and it feels like a personal statement for me and Gati. It feels like a friendship
state
statement.
of mind.
Yeah, it's something that Onward is not just something that is not just a representation of my life. It is my life. Like, my life has always been this, and I just didn't know it. I didn't know that Onward was the representation, but since I was a little girl, like, we went back to the solo Onward. We can't be sad that I forgot it. Okay, that's fine. I forgot it. It sucks. And we will deal with those emotions after I move onward. First, we got to move onward. We got to make that decision to keep going. And then we can be like, how do we feel about this? It's okay to be sad for a second. And then let's keep going. And yeah, I mean, who better to show me that than Gati? And Gati showed me that from before this. And I always say, I'm like, all these people now, she's touched all these lives. How lucky am I to have been one of the first that noticed these things? Not even because I knew her later on in life, but I feel like I got a glimpse of what everyone's seeing now. Like, all these people are like, oh, she's so strong. I'm like, you didn't know that?
That's
and
amazing.
I'm like, lucky me, because I was that close to her to know that. Like, nothing would ever stop Gati.
Well, I'm going to say lucky me for being your mom, and for being one of the very first people in this world to have known and seen the resilient woman that you've become. I knew this about you from when you were teeny tiny and you wanted to wear those pink Crocs no matter what. And you said something right now that I always use, and it's a big foundation for this Why Wait Till Friday movement. And it's, don't get too high on the good day. Don't get too low on the hard day, and learn to live in the in-between. And I think that at the end, that's what this is all about. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so genuine. Thank you for being my kid, my lucky mom. You're a big piece of what inspires me to do this each day. And I hope that today, through our conversation, we've touched someone's life.
Thanks for being my mom. I hope
Thanks,
everyone
guys.
enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed.